Oh my god, am I glad I waited to do this review, motherfucks, right? I mean, come on, man. Can things get any more of a tad for this motherfucker? Let's be real, you know? This has been such a weird Money in the Bank in such a weird time that I cannot help but smile. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed this Money in the Bank a lot more than I thought. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? It was good, man. Now, were there parts of this that were complete garbage? Of course there were. And we're going to talk about that too, cucks. But first of all, let's start with one thing, all right? Let's just address this for a second. So after my last video about how Killer Kross is overrated, I got quite a bit of backlash. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. You know, I welcome that kind of stuff. I welcome talking about it. But here's the issue that I had, right? A lot of people, he just pretty much said, hater, you're wrong on this one, right? But no one was able to answer. There was one person, I think it was Liverbird, who said, hey man, don't you think that he's a little bit like Edge? Which made me think, okay, let's try to see any similarities between Killer Cuck and Edge, right? I'm still looking out for those, but at least I'm looking, right? The rest of the people were just like, yo, like you're wrong about this, you're not right about that. Typically I agree, but I don't agree with this. And that's fine. I accept all of these things. But the problem is, I don't think that many people can really articulate why this guy is good. Now, this is not because the people that are trying to articulate this are not articulate. As a matter of fact, I think all of my fans, motherfucks, the entire friendship, motherfucks, is very articulate. But the problem is that you cannot articulate something that does not exist, right? Now, am I saying that Killer Kross sucks? No, I'm not saying that he sucks. Overrated and sucks doesn't mean the same thing, motherfucks. Like, for example, let's see. Drew McIntyre is overrated, but he sure as hell doesn't suck. You know what I'm saying? I think Stone Cold is overrated, but he doesn't suck either. He's, in fact, one of the best wrestlers of all time. It's just that I don't think he is the best wrestler of all time, and he is presented as such. That's what overrated means, you know? There's a lot of people also that are underrated, right? That I don't like. There are people that I don't like that are underrated. You know, I'm going to talk about one of them in this video, as a matter of fact. But insofar as Killer Cuck goes, I actually went to the YouTubes and I looked up some videos of his promos, right, in TNA. Apparently someone said he was waterboarding people, which is kind of interesting, you know what I mean? But all I saw was just an angry guy. Now, is he complete shit on the mic? No, he's not complete shit on the mic. Does he have flashes of charisma? Yes, he does. I stand corrected. However, have I changed my opinion that Killer Kross or Karrion Kross or Cuck Kross is going to be a flop in NXT? No, I have not. And here's another opinion. I think that a lot of people are going to change their minds slowly, right? Just like it happens with everybody else, you know? Like, again, I'm not speaking about the people that defended him and disliked my video. That's cool. I welcome the dislikes. I welcome any disagreement. This is the whole premise of having a YouTube channel. If you're some bitch who doesn't like things said to you that you don't like, then you will never grow, you will never understand, and you will never do as Liverbird suggested. Well, he didn't really suggest it, but as Liverbird influenced me to do, which is go and look at Killer Kross before I judge a book by the cover, because he said he reminds him of Edge. And I kind of see it a little bit. Now, I will go on record and say that I think Edge is overrated too, but that's neither here nor there, motherfucks. So, the point I'm trying to make is that I love the disagreements. I even like when I get dislikes. That's totally cool with me, man. I'm not here for the big bucks, motherfucks. I'm here to spread the truth, you know? And the truth sometimes comes in the form of my opinion. Now, with that being said, some people made other criticisms, like, oh, Killer Kross's entrance, one of the more recent comments, was a great entrance. And I'm like, all right, like, to each his own, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's a matter of preferences. Now, if you're someone that likes an entrance with smoke, which I think is cool, right? And a guy coming out and some broad coming out and lip syncing a song, that's nice. To me, that seems overproduced, and the lip syncing part just gives me the douche chills. You know what I'm saying? I see it and I'm like, this is just weird, man. Like, this isn't cool. You know, just a broad lip syncing about how this guy is pestilence. Why is he pestilence? Maybe we'll see. I mean, it can be, if it's handled well, it could be great, right? Like, if you push this guy, like, maybe they will, then it's good. But I'm sick and tired of hearing the WWE is hot on this guy and nothing happens with that guy, right? And people lose interest, you know? I don't think anyone here will disagree that Shinsuke Nakamura had a lot more hype than Killer Kross, right? But look what happened to him. He flopped, right? Because hype and people liking you and thinking you're great does not compensate for lack of other attributes. Now, with that being said, I also did see some videos of Killer Kross, and he looked much more jacked. Hopefully, he looks more jacked next time I see him on TV, but I was not impressed. I'm going to tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that either, motherfucks. Now, let's get to Money in the Bank, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, again, when I say thoroughly enjoyed, this is, of course, in the context of a WWE pay-per-view in the year 2020 during the coronavirus. First up, we had Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. I did not see this match because it was on the pre-show. However, I don't understand why someone like Jeff Hardy or someone like Cesaro are on the pre-show and are not in this match. I think Jeff Hardy would be one of the best people to have in a Money in the Bank ladder match. Furthermore, Jeff Hardy has never won a Money in the Bank ladder match, so why not let him win it? You know what I'm saying? Especially if, like, you know, clearly this is going to be his last run probably before he also ends up to AEW. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen, right? But I find it a little disrespectful that Jeff Hardy has to wrestle Cesaro on the pre-show. But that's neither here nor there. Next, we have the tag match. The tag match I thought was fantastic. It was a nice short 15 or so minute match, right, with a lot of things happening. First of all, we had New Day, Big E, and Kofi Kingston. As usual, Kofi Kingston botched several times. Kofi Kingston is also overrated, motherfucks, but he's not bad, you know what I'm saying? And then they won the match, and they beat the Forgotten Sons, who I like. You know, I like the Forgotten Sons. Jackson Riker is clearly the star of this group. He is the Jax, if you will, of this Sons of Anarchy. So he should be the one that gets the push. I don't really give a fuck about Wesley Blake, the fat one, in the Blake and Murphy tag team. And Steve Cutler, Steve Cutler reminds me of Brandon Cutler from AEW in that they're both jobbers and will never achieve anything remotely on the singles level in their respective companies. Then we had Miz and Morrison, who also make me like wonder, you know, it's like, why are Miz and Morrison, Miz being like a former main eventer of WrestleMania and Morrison being this hot commodity that they just signed, why are they in this match while other people like Aleister Black and fucking Otis are in the Money in the Bank ladder match, you know? So, but that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. They in the match also was Lucha House Party featuring Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado. If you watch this match like I did, like if you actually watched that, I actually paid attention to this one before I started work today, right? This match, you would notice, even if you don't know anything, you would notice how much work Grand Metalik put forward. Therefore, I will conclude that Grand Metalik is underrated. This does not mean that Grand Metalik is the next Rock. This just means that Grand Metalik deserves a little bit more. Like, for example, why is it that Humberto Carrillo, who has an inferior moveset, right, and is not as good and did not carry this great match by himself, basically, why is it that he is featured prominently, but Grand Metalik is not? Or why is it that Grand Metalik is not the Cruiserweight champion, but like fucking whatever the fuck his name is, Angel Garza becomes Cruiserweight champion, or Drew Gulak, or Tony Nese? No one's saying let's make Grand Metalik the Money in the Bank winner. But what I'm saying is, why not give Grand Metalik a push? When a trio exists and one person is superior to the rest of this trio, that person should be rewarded somehow. You know what I'm saying? They should be given that push. Kind of like in TNA when Serotonin, which was Matt Bentley, Kazarian, and some other guy, Johnny Devine, right? Kazarian was clearly the one that was working the hardest, and they pushed him as a result. And that's why we have Kazarian today, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? So Grand Metalik stole the show, in my opinion. He didn't do anything extravagant, but he was there for like easily half the match or more. You know what I mean? And ironically, he took the pin from Big E. I like Big E, but I am tired of New Day. This thing has run its course. They were entertaining for a few weeks when they were heel, and then it just went downhill. Now they're just a parody of themselves, and I don't really like them. I don't like that Kofi Kingston was WWE champion. I don't like a lot of things, motherfucks. Next up, we had MVP versus R-Truth, which was interrupted by Bobby Lashley, and it became a match between Lashley and R-Truth, which Lashley quickly won in about 2 minutes. Lashley is awesome. This is the problem that I have. It's not that people thinking Killer Kross is great bothers me. I don't care at all. What bothers me is that this attitude prevents people, in my opinion, like Lashley, from achieving great things, right? Because for some reason, Killer Kross is seen as a better wrestler than Lashley. So I ask you, the people that didn't answer last week, what makes Killer Kross better than Lashley, right? Is he better looking? No. Is he in better shape? No. Is he a better wrestler? No, motherfucks. Is he a legit tough guy? More so than Lashley? No. So what makes him better? He has a girl that sings about pestilence? That's a differentiator here. And again, Lashley is one of the people that I think is super underrated. Lashley should be fighting Brock Lesnar, not wasting his time with R-Truth and these other jobbers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, R-Truth is actually cool, but you know what I'm saying, right? Lashley deserves more. But for some reason, Lashley came back, a year or so went by, and people forgot how big of a deal Lashley was. He was like a million times bigger deal in Impact than Killer Kross. But because Killer Kross is the flavor of the month, people are like, oh, I love Killer Kross. And that's cool. Love whoever you want, motherfucks. Next up, we had Bayley with Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks was looking good today, which is weird, because typically she looks like shit, versus Tamina. Complete waste of time. Tamina had no chance. So Bayley won. It was whatever. No one really gave a rat's ass. Next up, we had one of the worst matches I've seen in my life. Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. This match further cements the fact that Bray Wyatt is one of the worst creative characters of all time. Like, let's be real. Bray Wyatt is garbage. People say he reinvented himself and became this new Bray Wyatt with The Fiend. But this has been, in my opinion, a colossal failure for a number of reasons. The first of which is his match with John Cena at WrestleMania, which will go down as the worst WrestleMania match of all time. I don't think I will ever see a worse one as long as I live. Now, with that being said, in this match, we had a regular Bray Wyatt, who is definitely like not as intimidating as The Fiend, but he's not even as intimidating as a regular Bray Wyatt, as back in the day Bray Wyatt. The story of the match was Bray Wyatt was trying to get Braun Strowman to join him again. Because that's all Bray Wyatt does, is he comes out there, says nonsense, right? And then periodically releases people and says, join me again, right? He had the black mask, the black sheep mask that Braun Strowman would wear. At a certain point, Braun Strowman wore it. Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman got on their knees. I thought they're about to start fucking, but they hugged each other. And then Bray Wyatt was like, welcome home. And Braun Strowman power slammed him and pinned him. Now, before all this happened, Bray Wyatt had the upper hand a couple of times, and he kept saying, I'm sorry. And I'm like, dude, this is just the same exact Bray Wyatt. Now they're not even trying. It's the same Bray Wyatt that talks during his matches and tries to make some sense of bullshit creative, right? He's just a guy. He's a retard from the woods, and now he's like, I'm a leader. Sister Abigail, like, what? Like, him saying, Braun, I promise this time things will be perfect, right? I know it's supposed to be cryptic. I know it's supposed to, like, make you think, like, what does he mean? But it's like, how can anyone care what he means when for 5-6 years he has been saying this kind of shit and it's led to nothing? In my opinion, the highlight of Bray Wyatt from a storyline perspective was when Randy Orton burned down the compound, right? And Bray Wyatt was like just completely emasculated by just Randy Orton, right? He was buried. Like, that's a worse burial than when John Cena buried him. Randy Orton was like, I burned your house. I destroyed like the remnants of Sister Abigail. I infiltrated your group. I like murdered you psychologically. You had dumbass bugs on the ring, right? With a light thing. And I whooped your ass. That was a complete burial. From that point forward, Bray Wyatt should have been reduced to a dancing gimmick of sorts. But no, he came back and had his second most important character development, which was when Matt Hardy threw him in a lake and he came back as another Bray Wyatt. That's it. Everything else has been garbage. And the fact that Braun Strowman beat him means nothing except for one thing. And that is that Bray Wyatt is now a bona fide jobber once again. I don't buy this whole, he beat Bray Wyatt, he didn't beat The Fiend. I don't buy it because other people beat The Fiend. Goldberg beat The Fiend, and then Braun Strowman beat Goldberg, right? Bray Wyatt shouldn't even get a title shot, and Braun Strowman whooped his ass. Now we're going to be forced to watch Braun Strowman versus The Fiend and continue this circle jerk into its inevitable conclusion, which is the release of Bray Wyatt after achieving nothing in this company. Next up, we had a pretty decent match between Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. I enjoyed this. This was a good match. Seth Rollins is, unfortunately, the #1 heel in the company, or at least on Raw, right? So as a result, it makes sense to pit him against Drew McIntyre. I personally think Drew versus Jinder Mahal would make a better feud, but this had to happen at some point. The match was all right. Like, they did their moves. They did a lot of moves, you know. Drew McIntyre did some of his more fun moves, the moves that I like the Glasgow Kiss and the little, overhead Beal that he does from the corner. He did that. That was nice. Long story short, the finish of the match was not good. It ended with like, what's it called? Drew McIntyre did something, like maybe like another Glasgow kiss. Rollins bounced off the ropes and did a super kick, which sent Drew McIntyre off the other ropes, and he just rebounded with a Claymore. Basically, in other words, they no-sold two power moves, and then Drew McIntyre hit his finishing move and won the match, right? So afterwards, they shook hands, which was nice because it appears that Seth Rollins might be turning face. Maybe Buddy Murphy will now lead this cuck group, right? And that might be a good thing for Buddy Murphy to do. Who the fuck knows? Next up, we had the Money in the Bank ladder matches at the same damn time, right? So this, like, I don't like this cinematic garbage, but if you're going to do it, this is the way to do it. What I mean by that is this. You have a clusterfuck of people. Number one, each match had 6 or 7 participants. I think it was 6. 6 motherfucks, right? So that right there is good enough. You have 6 people wrestling. Second, they all did it at the same time. So there was minimal interaction between the two groups, but some interaction, right? This is good for one reason and one reason only. You don't have to worry about what's going on, because while 2 people are doing one thing that's boring, 2 other people are doing something that's fun, right? So this match had a lot of quote-unquote little spots. There was a part where Daniel Bryan grabbed the thing, like a bar of some sort, and then did like a drop kick while holding onto the bar. Baron Corbin threw a plate at the mirror, breaking it again. Carmella hit Dana Brooke with a picture of herself, which was pretty cool, right? There were things that were like Asuka started the match off by jumping off like the second floor and landing on the girls, which was all right, except for the fact that in reality the girls could just move out of the way and she would just fall and die, and that'd be the end of that, right? And also there was some foolishness with Baron Corbin throwing Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black, quote unquote, off the building into this like pool-like thing that they had, because they showed it when the camera went up. But aside from that, the match was entertaining, right? Now, it wasn't really a wrestling match. It was very much like the Edge versus Randy Orton like thing, except it wasn't boring. The Edge versus Randy Orton thing was boring as fuck, because it was just like slam one guy into the wall and then they crawl for 5 minutes, and then climb up a thing, slam the guy into the thing, and they crawl for another 5 minutes. There was no crawling here because there were so many participants, right, that there was no room for crawling. And furthermore, the matches both ended at the top of the headquarters, where there was a ring, ladders, and the briefcases positioned at the same time. That was cool because it allowed people to do some moves that you need the ring for. Like AJ Styles did the phenomenal forearm, and Otis did the caterpillar. Now, there were parts of this match that were retarded, like, for example, the food fight segment, but I get it, you know what I mean? It's supposed to be goofy, right? And the cameos were legit cameos, right? Like, things that might make sense. Like, if you're at the WWE headquarters, you might run into John Laurinaitis or Bruce Pritchard, I think it was, right? Or Vince McMahon. These are things that are conceivable. It's not the same kind of cameo as John Cena appearing in an NWO shirt, or like the Druids appearing out of a barn in the Boneyard match, right? These are cameos that, even though they're stupid and in my opinion shouldn't be there, they at least have some semblance of logic behind them. The music that was playing in the background sometimes added to the atmosphere, like when they were in the ring, and at other times detracted from the atmosphere. When Otis did the caterpillar in the ring, the music changed into this goofy music, like to just tell the retarded audience, this is a goofy moment, like as if we didn't know, you know what I mean? There was another part where Daniels and AJ Styles stopped fighting because they went into Vince McMahon's office, and even though this is silly because there's a match going on, it was still good because it makes sense. You know, it's like, all right, like, it's important to win the Money in the Bank, but it's equally important to not get fired, motherfucks. And in some ways, it was like a tongue-in-cheek of like the people are getting fired, motherfucks. So it's like, you know, let's not press our luck, right? So the women's match ends with Asuka, who was the old, like, another thing I like about this match, specifically the women's side of it, was that Asuka wrestled this match the way you're supposed to wrestle this match logically, right? In normal Money in the Bank ladder matches, right? When I watch wrestling with people that don't watch wrestling, one observation they always make is that people climb the ladders too slowly. And I have to explain to them it's because, kayfabe-wise, there's fatigue and all these other things. When obviously, the real life reasons are you have to wait for the other guy to come and throw you off the ladder, right? This match didn't have that luxury a lot of times. So Asuka jumped off the second floor and wiped out all the divas. She took this advantage to do a little dance and then get in the elevator, right? Circumventing the process of climbing the stairs, which was important because it gave her the opportunity to eventually win the match. Now, one thing that I would have added to this was there was a point where like the rest of the women were climbing up the stairs. And I would have made it so a few of the women get off on an earlier floor and they try to call the elevator. And somehow, if they did this fast enough, The elevator stops, and they like intercept Asuka in the elevator, right? Now, what I would do then is the elevator opens, and Asuka just sprays mist in their face, and keeps going up the elevator, right? Just to add a little bit of like maybe take out 2 of the women or something, you know? But just to add like a nice little element, like they open the elevator, like they're waiting, and they get sprayed in the face, and Asuka just keeps going up, you know what I mean? Because the mist is cool, and Asuka is cool now. I'm not gonna lie, I like Asuka. I like this like exaggerated goofiness of her just like dancing around, but also being like evil, you know what I mean? It's awesome. I enjoy it a lot. So the women's match, I guess you could say, ended with Asuka climbing up the ladder simultaneously with Baron Corbin. For some reason, they decided to fight each other as if they're competing for the Money in the Bank. Asuka slapped him and kicked him on the face while he was down. Baron falls off. Asuka gets the briefcase, right? Next up, the men's match continues. It keeps going and going and going. Like I said, Baron Corbin throws Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black off the building, you know? And then he's climbing, and then shit's happening. And then him and AJ Styles are climbing. Elias comes out of nowhere, hits Baron Corbin with a guitar, which fucks it up for Baron Corbin, who has his hands on the briefcase along with AJ Styles. The briefcase is unhooked. Baron Corbin falls off. AJ Styles loses control of the briefcase, and Otis catches it. And Otis, motherfucks, is the winner of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, the reason why this match was good, in my opinion, was twofold. One, everything that I just said, all the little details and nuances that I mentioned were overall good. And the main reason why it was good is because Asuka was not supposed to win. No one would have predicted that Asuka would win. You might predict her as like the number 3 or number 4 person, right? But you surely would suggest that Shayna Baszler is more likely, that Nia Jax is more likely, and possibly that Lacey Evans is more likely, right? But maybe not Lacey Evans. But Asuka was not the favorite to win this match by any means. Asuka has been getting her ass whooped by Shayna Baszler, and Nia Jax is making a comeback, so logic would dictate that Nia Jax or Shayna Baszler were to win. Likewise, in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, I wanted Rey Mysterio to win, but I thought that AJ Styles or Aleister Black were the ones that would have the greatest opportunity. In my opinion, Otis was the least likely to win, and him winning is good booking, because that's the beauty of wrestling. Because these smarks and marks have taken over wrestling, they think that the beauty of wrestling is getting what you want, and that is stupid. And to reiterate, it's not like I wanted Otis to win. I wanted Rey Mysterio to win, right? But I don't give a shit about what I want, because it's not about what I want, motherfucks. It's about what makes the most sense and what has direction. Now, will this have direction? Probably not. I don't really see Otis as a world champion, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that WWE succeeded for the first time in a very long time in legitimately surprising me. I did not expect Otis to win, but he did, and that makes me happy, right? This is also piggybacking off the fact that what's his name? Not Aleister Black. Fucking Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews was screwed out of his opportunity. And if you remember, when he won the opportunity to be in the Money in the Bank, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, that's pretty sick. Like Apollo Crews, maybe we'll see something out of him, you know? So, or maybe he'll get a push. So that was nice, but it is what it is. Otis wins. I liked it because it surprised me. And that's what wrestling is fundamentally good at. Wrestling is like, if you watch Con Air or if you watch Taken, right? You know that once the Albanians kidnap Liam Neeson's daughter, right? That he's going to go and kill them all and save his daughter. You already know what's going to happen, right? So like, you enjoy the movie for the development, right? For some of the character development of Liam Neeson, and also just the quest of getting back his daughter and the killing of the Albanians and the other bad guys, right? That's what you watch the movie for. Wrestling, you watch it for both the development and the end result, which might surprise you, right? Because wrestling is live, and also because it's well written, or it used to be well written, right? It surprises you often, or it used to. Now it surprises you very rarely, or it surprises you in very meaningless ways. Like, for example, if the tag match, which was my favorite match of the night, if, for example, I don't know, Miz and Morrison won the match, that would be a little bit of a surprise because I wouldn't expect him to win. Or if Lucha House Party won, that'd be a big surprise because I wouldn't expect him to win. But it wouldn't be meaningless. Like, I don't give a shit. This is actually meaningful. This would suggest that Otis is now entering the main event scene. Now, again, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what is being suggested here, right? Otis, who was a tag guy from an unsuccessful tag team, just main evented a pay-per-view and won the main event match. You understand what I'm saying? This is something that makes wrestling good. It's just like when Jinder Mahal won the title. I don't particularly give a fuck about Jinder. I mean, I've always liked him, but I don't think he's like the greatest wrestler ever, right? But I enjoyed the fact that WWE was able to surprise the audience by having Jinder Mahal win first the number one contenders match and then beat Orton, right? That's good. When Brock Lesnar beat Undertaker, nobody wanted that. I didn't want that, but it was surprising, and therefore it was good. That's what makes wrestling good, motherfucks. It's not, oh, I like this guy, and if he's not booked in the exact same way that I'm thinking he should be booked, then Vince is out of touch. That's called being retarded. You understand what I'm saying? That's what that's called, motherfucks. So that's the problem with places like AEW, where it's like you knew from the beginning that Cucky Rhodes and fucking what's-his-face, Lance Archer were going to be in the end of this like jobber tournament, right? And most likely Lance Archer is going to win, you know? There you have it, motherfucks. That's what I got to say about that, bitches. Now, on to the more pressing issue. Since that day, which was yesterday, it turns out my friend texted me right before I was about to start recording this review, because I just finished watching Money in the Bank as I was working all day. Because I've been working a little later. Like, I've been starting work late and I've been ending late because I work from home. But fuck it, you know what? It works out for me. So, my friend texted me, and apparently Becky Lynch is the first man to get pregnant, motherfucks. The first man to get pregnant, motherfucks. So actually she's not, because I heard a story about some woman who transitioned to a man, and now she's pregnant because she still has a vagina or some other bullshit. But whatever. The man is now pregnant, motherfucks. And there you have it. She has relinquished her title, finally ending the most meaningless title reign of all time. And now Asuka is the champion because she has the Money in the Bank ladder match contract. There you go. I fixed it. So there you go. Is this good? It's good because Becky Lynch is gone. I wish her the best in her pregnancy. You know, I have nothing against the broad in real life. I hope she has a healthy baby, and I hope she never comes back or comes back different. This is done. Her being the man is now over, motherfuckers. Now, Asuka is now champion, so she doesn't have to cash in the Money in the Bank, which makes sense because there's a vacant title and because she has something that might give her a good shot. However, two problems with this. Number one, the Money in the Bank ladder match, you can't retcon it as being a championship match. It wasn't, motherfucks. It wasn't. That's retarded. That's not what it was at all. People qualified from SmackDown. You know, it wasn't a Raw women's title match. It was just, motherfucks, a Money in the Bank ladder match. So that's one mistake. Second mistake, the Money in the Bank is not equivalent to being a champion. Therefore, Asuka is essentially being handed the title, right? It would have been better to just have like a battle royal on Raw for the new women's title and have like, I don't know, Nia Jax, who the fuck cares? Have someone win, right? Or maybe have Kairi Sane win, I don't know. And then Asuka cashes in, right? You exhaust the Money in the Bank and you make Asuka the champion. Problem solved. You wipe your hands clean, you know? But now we have one less Money in the Bank to worry about. Who gives up balls, motherfuckers? That's what I gotta say about that. But anyways, Becky Lynch is pregnant. That's what matters in this story, insofar as the Money in the Bank goes. The pay-per-view was good considering everything. It had some legitimately good matches, like fucking McIntyre versus Rollins, and the tag match. I enjoyed them both. Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt was the worst match I've ever seen in my life, probably. I mean, the worst, like, real match. I'm not counting the Boneyard and other shit, right? And then Bayley and Sasha Banks was garbage. Bobby Lashley deserves more, and that's all I gotta say about that, motherfucks. So, with that being said, this has been your Money in the Bank review. And for all of you, I checked the analytics of some of my videos, and I noticed that a lot of people that are watching my videos are not subscribers. So please subscribe today, motherfuckers. Do me a favor. I'm trying to one day get to 1,000 because that opens up a whole lot of possibilities for me, including the capacity to just do posts. And posts are where I excel, motherfuckers. So let's get there. I know we will, but let's get there, motherfuckers. I love all of you, but I also hate everyone else, motherfuckers. The hater strikes again, bitches.